Thank you, sir. Welcome, everyone. And we want to welcome you to the City Council meeting. We're going to start with our invocation, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would, please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the blessings you have given us. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Elkins. We ask that you help us to keep open minds, civil tongues, and warm hearts as we work to grow our community. We also ask that you watch over and guide our country's leaders. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now call the council meeting to order and ask our city clerk to take roll, please.
Councilor Bros Friganera.
Here.
Councilor Carroll.
Here.
Councilor Chenoweth.
Here.
Councilor Hinchman.
Here.
Councilor Kearns.
Here.
Councilor Lowther.
Here.
Councilor Parker.
Here.
Councilor Pliszka.
Here.
Councilor Severino.
Here.
Councilor Thompson.
Here.
All present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone present tonight for public comment? If not, we'll move down to the minutes. I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes from the August 17th, 2023 meeting as presented.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under your correspondence and notifications, you have the Davis Memorial Presbyterian Church closing Church Lane for mobile food pantry, and also on September 10th and September 30th, or through September 30th, our Town Fall Scarecrow event will be downtown. If there's questions about that, I would say ask Sutton, to be honest with you. Not to throw you under the bus, Sutton.
We're just going to start including the event requests. Those are approved administratively, but we're just going to start putting them in that section of the agendas so you guys have a
So you have an
know what's
awareness.
going on.
Okay, we have a presentation tonight by a dear friend of mine, Chad Ware, from the Davis Health System. He's going to give us an update on the Vandalia Health merger. Welcome, Chad.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman. I'm glad I saw somebody open this door before I did because I was struggling to figure out how to get in here. As most of you guys know, we've partnered a merger going on with Vandalia Health System right now with the hospital, Davis Health System. And so what that basically means, at current time, we're in our due diligence process, which means we're in the process of legal and regulatory review of the operation. We anticipate that due diligence period will end in early October, maybe into November, at which time we'll be fully entered into our management agreement with Vandalia Health. You know, there's a lot of things I like about the agreement with Vandalia, but one of the things we really loved about the partnership with them is that they wanted to keep the community in community hospitals. So Davis Medical is going to remain Davis Medical. Broadus Hospital in Philippi will remain Broadus, and over in Webster Springs, Webster Memorial Hospital will stay the same. We'll be able to retain our names and identity, which I think is a good thing. No plans to lay anybody off, nothing like that. So it'll just keep our hospitals community oriented. Another bonus to the affiliation with Vandalia is that in rural areas, as you guys know, it can be very hard to recruit certain specialties, like neurology, for example. With our partnership with them, it will help us to retain, recruit, and get those types of specialty services. So Vandalia Health, they're divided into two regions in the state. They have a northern region, which is Mon Health, and they have a southern region, which is Charleston Area Medical Center, or CAMC, as most people know it by. Looks like right now we'll be partnered into put into the northern region. Vandalia Health, they've got a great wide medical stamp. They're east, west, north, south in West Virginia. They're in Pennsylvania. They're in Maryland. They, as you can see on the handouts that are there, 16 hospitals currently will be added to that eventually, 160 plus outpatient locations, 70 plus specialties, and more than 12,000 employees, and over 1,200 doctors and advanced medical providers. They're a very strong health network. In 2022 alone, CAMC brought in $1 billion of unrestricted revenue. That's $1 billion. That's a lot. That unrestricted revenue will help facilities, clinics, hospitals within the network, if there's needed for upgrades, free cash, some things like that, they can help, and I'll touch on that just in a moment. Davis Health System, for those of you that don't know, we do have the 3 hospitals I mentioned here in Elkins with Davis, and Philippi with Broadus, and Webster Springs with Webster Memorial, 27 outpatient locations, 27 specialty services. We currently employ over 1,000 people in our healthcare system, and we have right around an $80 million annual payroll. We serve 7 counties: Randolph, Barber, Upshur, Tucker, Pendleton, Pocahontas, and Webster County. So we do have a great stamp. We really don't drift up I-79, kind of hard to compete with UHC and WVU, but we do serve the rural mountain counties that I just mentioned. What's new at Davis Health System? So prior to our merger with Vandalia Health, a lot of good things were happening in the health system anyways. Our Orthopedic Joint Replacement Center of Excellence has opened up recently. It's been fantastic. Dr. Boardwine, who was already kind of on the Davis payroll, Dr. Topping, Dr. Pavlovich, Tiger Valley Ortho, their people kind of came underneath of us, and they've called it the Orthopedic Joint Replacement Center of Excellence. Very blessed in a small community to have 3 orthopedic providers with that kind of experience. They all have different avenues, like Dr. Pav, he loves sports medicine, and Topping loves the joint replacement. So there's a lot of different things that they can offer through that Joint Center of Excellence. I keep getting that name wrong, it's so long, but they're great orthopods. Surgical podiatry of Dr. Hughes, Dr. Hurst, Michael Hurst, and Hannah Hughes. Fantastic young providers. They're on the cutting edge of everything that they do. I've had the opportunity to meet most of these docs as I've taken them around our 7 counties that we serve. They're fantastic. Women's health care and midwifery has taken off. Our midwives have been fantastic. They've been here about a couple years now, but they're doing really, really well. Psychiatry, we just got a new psychiatrist, Dr. DeMarco. She's fantastic. I've heard nothing but rave reviews about her. She opened up probably about a month ago, much needed service here. Pulmonologist, Dr. Kawatli, took him around. I got to tell you, when you talk to people like Dr. Kawatli, they take you up a level in communication, although I stayed down here, he talks up here. But Dr. Kawatli, fantastic, great bedside manner for him. And then we got ophthalmology coming toward the end of the year, beginning of next year, and there's some other services I think that are listed there. Workforce development, we've done a great job at Davis Health System with our partnerships. This is all prior to Vandalia with Fred Eberly and Buchanan for LPN programs, Davis and Elkins College. We have a CNA classes that we offer at the hospital, and then something that's near and dear to my heart is the Davis Academy. In the Davis Academy, there's 2 different tracks. There's a full-time track, which takes post-grad 18 to 20-year-old students. They come into our program, they're fully benefited, they're paid, they go through orientation. They start in June and in December, and basically what they do is they go through any number of rotations. Typically, they get 3-4-week rotations, and we try to put them back into something they really like. We have 16 areas of the hospital that are open right now, from sports medicine to the lab to registration, IT, physician practices, you name it, there's a bunch of them. So all of the full-time students that we've had that have completed the academy, they've either gotten plugged into the workforce or they've had the opportunity via scholarship through the hospital to go to school and continue their healthcare education. And then, of course, we have a couple usually get in, they go to lab, they see blood, and they're like, yeah, it's not for me, and they're out. But that'll happen. And then we just have started last year partnerships with the Technical Center, VOTEC, if you remember, called the VOTEC. That's what I remember it as here in Randolph County. And then in Barber County, the Tech Center, we've opened up a CWST partnership. So that's their career work skills training. They have students they sent to us last semester, hugely successful. We started it in Barber County. Barber County sent in students to Broadus Hospital now. So again, they're part-time, so they're like Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. There's a group that works 8 to 10:30, a group that works noon to 2:30. They're paid. It's the only type of CWST paid internship that they have. So all these other folks that are going in law offices, they're bumming and they're coming back to their teachers saying, hey, the hospital kids are getting paid. So, but it's great because they plug in, it's real world experience, it's hands-on, and we just love that. It's so good, it's been copied by others. West Virginia Hospital Association contacted me. I thought I was just giving them an interview. Well, they gave it to WVU, and WVU's put it in all their hospitals as well, too. So I guess imitation is the best form of flattery, so we'll take that. They could at least give us a pat on the back, but, neither here nor there. Edit that part out if you're keeping minutes. High quality, lower cost. Obviously, as a nonprofit, we want to keep healthcare affordable to our patients, so we're always looking for different avenues to do that. We have bundle and save programs. You guys may have seen some of those in the paper or on social media. That's lab services. We've got bundle programs with orthopedic services. There's a bunch of them to take a look at. Davis Medical Center, actually, and I thought this was a great thing to share tonight. Efficiency and cost reduction. U.S. rank, we're in the top 1% in the entire country. The rank within our state, we are 1 out of 21 hospitals in efficiency and cost, which I think is outstanding. Total performance scores, U.S. rank, we're in the top 3% there. And within the state, we are 2 of 21. So I think that's fantastic. Now, once the management agreement goes in, some of the growth you're going to see at Davis Medical, and I think it's pretty exciting. There's going to be more private rooms opened up. We're going to have a cath lab, so prior to this, people would have to leave Elkins to get their heart catheterizations done. They'll be able to do them right here. We're going to have a new women's and children's center, which will be built on top of the existing emergency room. And then on top of that, there's going to be a rooftop garden space. So part of it on the inside will be a restaurant, an eatery, which I can't kind of tell you what that is. That's kind of a surprise, but I think it'll be pretty cool for the community. And then the outside will have, some like tables, benches, some greenery, things like that. So I think those are pretty neat. And then outside, there's the old pharmacy area and one of the old rehab areas. There's going to be a green space. If you've ever been to the mountain layer up at Morgantown, like the turf, the logo in the middle, benches, that's kind of what will be kind of coming in the future. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's an exciting time to be a part of the healthcare system. I think we are blessed to have something like that here. Obviously, we have other good healthcare entities in Elkins as well, but the hospital was really growing. We were sustainable before, but the partnership with Vandalia really helps us with more loose cash flow and really allows us to expand and build. So if there's no questions, I'll exit stage right, but if you have questions, I'll be more than happy to try to answer them.
Okay, well, I have a question for you, sir.
Okay.
Going forward, I mean, because you are a critical part of our community, will you be providing regular updates on significant events as they
Yes,
occur?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely can do that. They've added that to other duties as assigned. We were talking earlier, Stevie. Yeah, that's kind of what that's going to look like.
So you will be our point of contact?
I will be. And I might actually have some fancy graphics for you the next time.
Love it.
Instead of the old school. Yeah, that's
I
good.
appreciate that. Any other
All right.
questions for Chad tonight?
Yeah, I have one. Well, a couple. So Chad, thank you for being here. It was very informative. I've had some questions about that, with this going on. So it sounds like there's going to be some updates and some, build-ups, and that's awesome. But is there any, discussion or anything about parking, dealing with the parking lots? The parking lots are, when I take my car over there, it's not a huge car, but it's not a little car. And trying just to get into, the spots, it's a little... Is
Sure.
there anything that
Sure.
being discussed with that?
Is this where I can say no comment right now? There has been discussion about parking. Obviously, if you guys have been on I don't know the name of the street that runs on the back side of the hospital, not the ER side, but the other side, there's a barricade up. What we were having was a lot of people that were just really flying down through there, so it was blocked off, and I don't know if they included you guys or not on that, but the hospital did block that off. So what it did make for some more congestion in that parking lot, so trying to find additional parking. So the back side of the lot, I do know that they're getting ready to tear one of those buildings down and add additional. So if you're coming out of the visitor entrance, if you look straight ahead, there's a building, it's kind of off to your right. That's going to come down at some point, and they're going to level that out and extend the parking there.
Okay.
So there will be more parking opportunities, yeah.
Okay. And so how is it going to look with the current board? So we have the current board at DM, and will members of the community be also in the Vandalia, or how?
Well, I think they're going to keep the current board. I'm not real versed on that aspect of it, but I do know the board's not going to change at this moment. I do know that Vandalia has representatives that they do send, but it's going to be we'll operate our hospital as we have.
Okay, that was my next, is the
Yeah.
local level of autonomy.
Yes. They are there for support. Obviously we've had meetings, efficiency, how can we improve certain areas that may lack, obviously recruitment of services, but otherwise it's going to be completely ran here locally. Yep.
Good deal.
Yeah, sure.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, it's good to see you guys. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move down to our committee reports, and we will start with Counselor Parker.
Yes, sir. We are, public safety will be meeting next Monday. It'll be a combined meeting. We will be meeting at noon rather than our normal 10 o'clock time, and I encourage you all to be here. And then with regard to the task force, we are proceeding apace. We're still on our way into a feasibility study for developing a regional treatment facility. I continue to be optimistic about that. Two of us will be looking at a property on Monday, unless it gets sold given this market, for a sober living home for women specifically here in town. I hope to be able to bring you good news about that. We have been working on this and trying to find a suitable place. And it's not been easy, let me just say
It's been a
that.
challenge, so you're right.
But anyway, we are making progress. And we will be meeting with our regional partners in our 5-county sub-region, we think probably by Zoom and fairly shortly, to continue our work together, so.
Well, one question I have for some of the newer council members. Last year, we provided stigma training for the community, and some of you weren't available for that. If you're interested, can you please let myself or Dave know, because we'd like to schedule that again. It's open for the community as a whole, but we also want to include you, definitely, since you're on council now. If we could, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
What kind of training?
It's called stigma training.
Okay, what's that?
It's one of the challenges that we have whenever you're recovering from addiction is the stigma that's associated with what you've been through. And it's helping people realize what steps you can take and what words you need to use and how to address people, and realize that these are still members of our community, and it's somebody out there that's struggling right now. And we're trying to help them get back on their feet, so.
And in line with that, we have a mayoral proclamation that this is Overdose Awareness Month.
Correct.
Everything that has to do with substance use disorder tends to have that stigma attached to it. And we've really got to get past that. I mean, that's just simply essential. And the second piece just walked right out of my mind, Mr. Mayor.
Well, the mental health issues are a real challenge right now because of the lack of resources. And COVID really highlighted that because people were taken outside of their norm, and they were forced into a block that they weren't really comfortable with.
Thank you
And
for covering
especially
that.
with the younger generation, we're noticing the suicidal tendencies have really started to rise, and we're trying to do something to address that. And I know some of you are teachers or former teachers, and that's something I know would be near and dear to you as well, or you have children. We just want to make sure that people know that there's folks out there that will listen to them and try to get them help if we can.
What the mayor has said about suicidal tendencies in our young people is,
It's
it
unnerving.
can't be overemphasized. It's scary. It's so prevalent, it is scary. I do know that for a fact. And my other point was this: we've had an industry representative request to meet with the core task force group, and that occurred this past Tuesday morning. And that person came bearing a message that private enterprise is interested, I think most specifically, and if you have other understandings, please share, most specifically in working with us on stigma training, because it's even affecting the employability of people. Private enterprise is looking for people to hire. People coming out of a program who really are in recovery and are actively working on that recovery from one day to the next. They won't work, and they need work, and they will work. And so all of this really fits together. I mean, I think there's clearly the understanding that it's all affecting the workforce. And these things are just all wrapped up together, and we cannot sit back and fail to address it.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Brasser-Ganera.
The Municipal Properties Committee will have a special call meeting next Tuesday, the 12th at 10:30 to review the proposed All Veterans Memorial site. So anybody is welcome to attend that. Our regular meeting will be the following week at the regular time at 11 o'clock. That's on the 19th, and we'll be reviewing the will and other aspects of the Governor Cup House, and probably have some other presentations.
Nancy, can you use your microphone, please? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
Sorry about that.
No, I'm not used to being on this side. Okay, the tree board met, and we're looking at grant possibilities. The demonstration grant costs or available funds has gone up significantly. So we're really looking at wonderful ways of planting trees. That's our big goal, is to replace trees that have died or are diseased and need a replacement. We want to make a greener neighborhood all throughout town. And we're also looking at possible like parklet ideas, because there's also a significant grant for areas that have low income and a rating. And so we'll be able to use a lot of that money without a match, which is something we like to hear. Even the other grant, we plan to just simply use our leaf pickup funds and not tie down our city employees as much as possible. So we have great hopes for that. The goal is like 100 trees next year. So we'll see how that goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
question.
Yeah.
Will any funds become available in the low-income areas for the removal of trees that need to come down that are diseased and then
I
need to
know.
be replaced?
Right. I just this morning got the parameters, so I have not had a chance to look at what things we can ask for. Seriously, I just got it this morning, so I'll look it over. But we are very much aware of the need of funding to take down disease and dangerous trees.
Yes.
There's a lot of trees in neighborhoods that should come down, but property owners either can't afford it. It's an expensive proposition. So it would be great to find grant funding for that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilor Pliszka.
No reports.
Thank you. Councilor Hinchman.
Yes, sir. Finance met today at noon, and we went over the Phil Gaynor Community Center roof problem. There was a small patch, a major patch, and then also totally replacing the roof. There's more research that needs to be done on that just yet. We had discussions on City Hall's HVAC project, and we dedicated another $250,000 from the stabilization fund towards the project. And we went over a little bit about the employee compensation, which Councilman Chenoweth will discuss more because we had a joint meeting. And then we entertained the Davis Avenue business owners compensation request. And at that point, there was no, we didn't do anything with it.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Chenoweth.
Yes, sir. Finance and Personnel held a joint meeting on August 30th, and the purpose of that meeting was to discuss the hard work of the administrative officers in recommending employee compensation changes that we'll take up as part of Resolution 1684. The joint committees recommended those changes to council, really to address the dire staffing shortages that all the city departments are experiencing. So can you entertain questions, and happy to answer any questions anyone has at that time. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Kearns.
No report. Thank you.
Councilor Severino.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Lowther.
Rules and Ordinances was scheduled to meet on the 20th of this month, but due to a shift in my work schedule, I need to reschedule that. I'll get with Sutton and get a new date set as soon as possible. Parks and Recreation will meet on the 20th at 5 p.m. at the Phil Gaynor Center.
By the way, I have received a ton of compliments about the paving through the park, the path, and the basketball court looks, and the basketball court looks awesome too, by the way, so please thank them for me.
Pickleball court to come, I think, maybe starting next month. They'll start the construction on it.
Excellent. Yeah, they work hard.
I can't hear you. Construction on what? They'll
Pickleball
start-
A
court.
pickleball court.
Oh, right. And where's that going to be?
It'll be on the old tennis courts. They'll
Okay.
resurface. They'll put a new surface down over top of the existing surface. And there'll be two courts there. And eventually there'll be a new fence put up around it.
That's good.
Yes.
Why did they ever take those out to begin with? The tennis courts? I mean, I know it's been like 15, 20 years, but,
I,
because we barely have any tennis courts and one racquetball. You know, so just curious. Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure why, lack of use, nobody ever used them really, just like the horseshoe pit. The horseshoe pit was taken out because nobody uses it,
That's true.
so there's just things come and go, and then D&E's tennis courts. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, Erica.
Well, the horseshoe pits is kind of almost converted into a dog park, a mini dog
Yeah.
park, so
Yeah,
people are utilizing it now, so.
yeah.
I had a student from D&E say that we need a bigger, better dog park, and I said, well, technically, we don't have any, so, but the fact that you're getting creative is okay. Anything else, Chris? Thank you. Councilor Carroll?
Planning Commission will meet next Thursday, the 14th at 3:30.
Thank you. Councilor Thompson, welcome back again.
Yep, no report, just happy to be back from
I said you look
Bermuda and
refreshed.
Bahamas.
You look refreshed. Thank you. Okay, moving down to our staff reports, I will start with our Chief Water Operator, Wes Lambert. Come on down, Wes.
Go Vanna. Go Vanna.
Good evening. I have a very brief report this evening. We've had a pretty busy summer this year. The drier weather the last couple of weeks has definitely helped us catch up on a lot of the yard work and things and a lot of our outdoor projects, so we're thankful for that. We're getting just enough rain to keep that water table going for the drinking water though, so we are thankful for that end as well. We have gained approximately 50 new customers this summer with the addition of the 32 customers at the Kimball Trailer Park and 18 new taps. So we are growing some. And I do want to thank you all for approving that easement last time, at the last meeting. That's one of the two ways that we can actually gain revenue in the water system. Since it's an enterprise fund, we either have to increase the rates or gain new customers. And obviously, we'd rather gain new customers. We also purchased 12 new stop logs for the stop log building out at the flood control. We got those off of JC Lumber. They are 20-foot long, and they're about 12 foot in diameter, or 12 inches in diameter. So it's a kind of an odd size of log to cut. So we had to have those milled specifically for that out there. So we're very appreciative of them to do that for us. Also, on the issue with the Whitmer and distressed utility case, I have a little bit of an update for that. We had a meeting yesterday in Charleston, and we met with Marie Prezioso and some of the folks with IJDC and the PSC. And the purpose of that meeting was to try to get an idea of what kind of funding and stuff is out there to help us with that distressed utilities case. And it looks like there's definitely some promising avenues there. It looks like we may have some grant funding to help us with all the needs over there, try to get the plant and system fixed up. So it was very promising. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more meetings to follow. We're still kind of in the beginning stages of all that. It's a very slow process, but I'll keep you guys informed and updated as I hear. So, and also, I know there's a lot of new councilmen on. I want to extend an invitation to all of you to come up to the water plant or down to the distribution system. We'd love to show you around, show you our facilities. There's definitely a lot more than meets the eye when you come in there and take a look at those facilities. So we'll be glad to have you. But any questions?
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Okay, Chief Bennett.
Good evening, everyone. In August, the Elkins Police Department responded to 465 calls for service, which that's a little bit low considering that it was August and in the middle of the summer. I would have expected that to be around 600 or a little higher, so that's a good thing. Resulted in 12 cases and 11 arrests. Some of the things we have seen over the past few weeks is an increase in vehicle break-ins, which we kind of got that out to the media, make people aware, lock your vehicles, lock stuff up, don't leave it laying around, don't be an easy target. That kind of comes and goes, it seems, every few years. We'll go through a couple-month period where vehicles are getting hit, things are being stolen off of porches, and it's a rash of it, and then it'll go away. And we might not see it for very much of it for a year or so, but it seems to always come back. So we're watching that pretty closely right now. The other thing that we've had a lot of complaints about in the last few weeks are loitering in the city park after dark, well, through the daytime and after dark. With that, after dark, we can do something about that because the park's closed when it gets dark. My guys have been going just about every evening, clearing the park right at dark, running people out of it. Through the day, that's a little bit touchier situation because if somebody's sitting in the park and they're not visibly committing a crime, there's not a thing we can do about them sitting in the park, all right? We're watching them. If we see them do something, we'll address it. Along with that, my next point is our cameras that we are about to install in the next few months. I think that's going to be a very critical factor in some of these issues, such as break-ins and the park specifically. The park is going to be a very uncomfortable place to sit if you're not there for the right reasons, when you know that you're being watched by camera. So I think that's going to be the number one thing we can do to fix that, and we're looking forward to getting that installed. We're currently working with the DOH to gain permission to access some of their structures because a lot of our cameras are going to be hanging on DOH-owned poles where we've already got structure to hang them, we've already got power to access them. So we're working with our legal division right now to get that taken care of, and hopefully we'll start seeing cameras go up here in the next few months. Last thing I wanted to talk about was our hiring incentives. And on the agenda today, Resolution 1685 is the policies and procedures and agreements for that action that was already approved by council at the last meeting. I want to thank Human Resources and the city attorney for working so quickly to get these agreements and stuff in place, so we're ready to go here soon. But with those, we're getting a lot of attention out of those incentives that we put in place. Within the first week, I was contacted by every major news station in the state. I was on Metro News statewide radio last week with the reporter in Morgantown, who told me before we even talked that it's buzzing all over Morgantown that we're giving an incentive like that for officers. So it's getting around. I've been contacted by certified officers from Virginia, from Rhode Island. I've had a few from in-state in West Virginia, and a lot of uncertified people contact as well. So I think we're going to see a major difference the next time we go through our hiring cycle. So I appreciate everybody's support on that. Other than that, I have nothing else unless anybody has any questions for me.
I have a quick question, Chief.
Sure.
Is there a map of where these cameras are going? Is it like in major intersections and public parks, or?
So we do have that. The company that's helping manage this project for us has that map right now because they're the ones doing the site visits and stuff and working with us on it. My vision for that is to first secure the perimeter of our city. All of the ingress, egress points, we'll have them. That way, if we have something coming in, something going, we will have it on camera. We're never going to have enough money to completely cover our entire city with footage. So we have to be smart how we do it. We cover the perimeter, and then we work ourselves inward. Next step is all of the major intersections, things like that, and then other points of interest such as the parks, things like that. That way we maximize what we're getting out of the number of cameras we're putting up.
Can you refresh us on how many cameras that is?
Right now, it's looking like it's going to be around 70 cameras.
Good.
Chief,
That number's fluctuated a little bit, and I look for it to still fluctuate a little bit once we have funding in hand and we see how some things will change price. Some are going to go higher, some are going to go lower. That number, I would say, could go back and forth by maybe 10.
Chief, when I was in Charleston yesterday, I met with Travis Blosser, who's the executive director for the Municipal League, and he was thrilled to hear you on Metro News because he realizes this is a problem across the state. So the fact that Elkins is pushing that message out there that you have to give incentives for law enforcement officers is helping the entire state, not just Elkins. So
Great.
I want to provide you that feedback, sir.
Nice.
And one more follow-up on that.
Sure.
So if folks come to me with questions about the camera systems, I imagine they will. What privacy protection is that for folks who maybe have, live in a downtown apartment, or if they're intersection for like the protection of like if their porch is on camera or?
There's no expectation of privacy from a camera that is on public property. There's no expectation of privacy for that. If I'm standing on a sidewalk, on a street, or on public property, anywhere that camera can see, you have no expectation of privacy for that.
So just to follow up on that, so say you have a second floor apartment in a downtown intersection, conceivably could that camera see into those windows?
If that camera is on public property,
Okay, so those
there's
people
no
don't have an expectation
expectation
of privacy
of
even
privacy.
outside there?
No.
Okay, thank
It's,
you.
it's the responsibility of you as a homeowner to close your blinds, is pretty much what it comes down to. Same with us. That's why people can film us from anywhere at any time. It works both directions.
Okay.
Well, I guess, sort of piggybacking on that, so just so I understand, because we are getting questions. So most of the time, the cameras would be pointing down towards the sidewalk and stuff like that. I think that was one of the concerns.
We're not putting cameras up to look in people's windows, if that's the question, all right?
Well, I
We're
think,
putting,
you know,
we're putting cameras up to protect lives and property and detect crime, not see what people are doing inside their windows.
Right. I know. But there is a lot of movement to create loft apartments and stuff like that downtown and have residential areas downtown. So I think, you know, that is sort of a concern. Are the cameras pointing into my bedroom, or are they pointing down towards the sidewalk where most criminal activity would take place? So I think that's a reasonable concern.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Mr. Kissinger.
Mayor and Council, good evening. I have a very brief report to give you this evening. I want to start with an update on the sanitation garage. On August 22nd, we held a pre-bid meeting. Went very well. Had some subcontractors show up. No general contractors showed up for the meeting, but it was not mandatory. We felt it would be in the best interest of the city to make it non-mandatory. Therefore, you don't know who's going to bid on the job just based on who's in the room. So it makes you really put your best foot forward to give the lowest possible bid to the city. So we'll be opening the bids on Friday, the 15th of September at 10 a.m. We met with the HVAC architect, and as it was mentioned earlier, we have allocated more funds to that project. So now we can go ahead with the bidding process on it, since we know where the funding's coming from, and move forward. We have identified the needs and the direction we want to go with it, so we'll be able to work in phases to keep the costs minimal and to do this as a smart project and make the most of our money. As many of you know, the Mountain State Forest Festival is fast approaching. With our office staff in place, our supervisors and their staffs, this is obviously my first Mountain State Forest Festival, so I'm cautiously optimistic on how this will go. But I feel confident with all the expertise I have around me, it will go perfectly fine, and it'll be another success. So I'm looking forward to that. The automatic transfer switch for the City Hall generator is going to be, the process of getting it installed should take place starting sometime this month. So that's an exciting process to get the generator then installed. That way City Hall has backup power, so we're moving forward on that. After the Mountain State Forest Festival, leaf season begins, so we will begin operating the leaf truck. And the street sweeper will continue to run until weather changes. I know it's kind of warm in here right now, but we are already talking about winter activities. So we will give plenty notice as to when the street sweeper will quit running. Code enforcement, busy time right now in the code enforcement office. We have one dilapidated property is knocked down and gone. Another one is knocked down and in the cleanup process. 2 more are scheduled to be knocked down any day. And we have awarded the bid for the next 4. So that came in at a surprisingly good deal, I think, compared to some other bids that we received. So we're looking forward to getting that process rolling as well. Real quick in closing, Resolution 1684, employee compensation changes. I want to thank the Personnel Committee and the Finance Committee for meeting with the administrative officers, listening to us, hearing us, giving us your feedback, your suggestions, and working together as a team. It was a great accomplishment of teamwork to get where we are right now. And I personally want to thank both the chiefs, Tracy, Sutton, and Melissa. You've done a tremendous job coming on board and spearheading the HR department, and your input has been amazing. It's refreshing to be able to have a meeting, and when you walk out, you feel like the last hour and a half we really accomplished something, even though we only meant it to be 30 minutes. So it's an honor to be a part of that team. I can't thank everyone enough for all the work, and I would just urge the council to really take into consideration what the Personnel Committee and the Finance Committee are recommending. Other than that, that's all I have. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Actually, I don't have a question, but I have feedback for you as well. I spoke with John King about 2 weeks ago from DEP, and he was praising you and your staff for the progress you've made on dilapidated properties, and says he often uses Elkins as a model for other cities that are doing this. So I actually want to say thank you to you, Mike, to Jesse, and especially our attorney, who has her matrix down, that she knows what boxes to check and then in the right order to make sure we're doing this legally.
It's ironic you mentioned that. City Council and I had a virtual meeting with John King today, and he really did speak highly of how we're handling things. And again, that's no reflection on me. That's a reflection on Jerry, your expertise, your guidance, and Jesse taking it, hit the ground running and moving forward with it. So he's very pleased with everything, and I think as we move forward, we will be one of those model cities that they look at as how we handle things.
But with that said, I also want to say thank you to Chief Himes for going and hosing the house down in South Davis. And thank you, Sean, for providing some flaggers over there, to keep the traffic moving and keep them safe while the process was going, as the house was coming down, I guess. So that is truly a team effort.
It's
and
amazing.
That's refreshing.
No matter who I call, how urgent it is, how last minute it is, everybody's eager to help and jump in and do what we got to do to get the mission accomplished. So I appreciate it. And again, thank you for all the help with the Finance Committee and the Personnel Committee.
Any other questions for Mike tonight or comments?
I have one just about, so you said there's 4 kind of in the works right now. One is.
Cody, can you lean into your mic just a little bit more, please? I'm sorry. Thank you.
One is went down, and I think you said there was one that's in the process of being, removed. There's 4. So how many others are there in like the pipeline right now that we need to be looking at?
Well, right now there will be the original 4 will be torn down and removed within weeks. Jerry, would you agree with that?
Right.
And then we just had the contract signed by the company
Correct.
that we awarded the contract to for the low bid for the next 4. And then we have another structure that is to be determined. We have some more asbestos testing and things that do of that nature. So there's 4 right now that are already guaranteed to be knocked down. The next 4 have a contract in place, and there's a 5th one that we're waiting some more testing back on it. And please feel free to interject.
So I think the bid opening is Monday afternoon on that one last structure.
That is correct, yes.
For all of those that know any of the bars in the city of Elkins, it was the outer limits for a while. Some young people used to call it the shoot and stab, the bar of last resort. I think its last title was Lexi's. And the good thing about it, not only is it going to come down, but Mr. Matt Kwasniewski of Big Timber now has title to the property, and he'll be able to use it for his commercial establishment. So it's a win-win all around for a business right here in the city. And that'll be all the money that's all we could do with the money we have.
And that's kind of where I was wondering too. I know there's not enough money. There's never enough money for
Never enough
anything.
money.
But like looking, is there like a list of homes that are kind of like abandoned, problem nuisance properties that, I mean, how many of those are out in our
Well,
city?
originally, I think we identified 12, Cody, is what we started with.
Correct.
However, after we approached some of the property owners, they agreed to take care of the issues themselves or resolve it. So
Okay.
that freed up a little bit of money, so we looked at others to replace that. But as Jerry said, we have $300,000 approved for Phase 1. However, we did apply for Phase 2, and with the progress we're making on Phase 1, feel pretty confident we will receive additional funding for Phase 2. So I guess the best answer is to be continued at this point. So Jesse's doing an amazing job about going out, and people are contacting her right now saying, hey, I've got a property here, can you guys take care of it for me? And she's not looking for work at this point in time. I mean, they're coming to her at this point, which is great.
We have a great list when we get more money. And in our conference call with Mr. King today from the DEP, he told Mr. Kester and I that that application that we made in the beginning of this year, they're looking at it, trying to figure out how they're going to actually handle it, whether it'll be a separate grant, whether there's some way they can kind of roll it into this original grant we got. But there is no shortage of properties that we can use towards this. One good thing is, Mr. Kester said, this last bid that got awarded for these 4 residential properties, that'll be the next group that'll be abated and demolished. The bid, the low bidder was substantially, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars less than the others. So we were surprised and kind of delighted
Very
about the
pleased.
fact we're going to have more money than we thought. We were kind of afraid we were going to run out of money, to be honest.
And just help me remember too, I believe you said, so with these properties, once they are demolished, there's a lien?
It depends. So if we got the consent of the property owner to do it, we agreed not to put a lien on it because the goal was to get the property down and improve the neighborhood. The 4 that the bid was just let on a week or 2 ago, those I all had to go to court about. But the owner of that property is in an estate, and Woodlands is in the process of an agreement with them where they're going to own those 4 empty city lots in order to use for their moderate housing and their construction. And we see that as a win also. No reason to put a lien on
I
those.
would love to see some development there instead of just a field.
You know, we had to go to court to get approval on those, and I got a court order on all 4 of those. In the process of all of that, this other agreement came about, and so I see that as a win for everybody, just as I indicated about the Lexi's property. Big Timber now will, they own that. When we contacted the owner last fall, that's how we got her together with Mr. Kwasniewski, and they worked out an arrangement about what he was going to pay and all of that. It's all recorded, and when it gets torn down, he's going to have property to use
That's
for
exciting.
parking or whatever. So that's really improving that South Davis Bridge area in lots of ways, in light of the Allegheny Apartments renovation, what Big Timber's doing on their property. Now the old Lexi's is going to be gone. I see that as a real help for the people that are, the businesses and the other, the people that live in that part of South Davis. So, you know, I'm delighted to see these things happening when all we have is $50,000 a year. And you're lucky if you could get 2 properties down with that, depending on abatement and whatever. But to have this and work towards a goal, and I feel very comfortable, I'm sure Mr. Kester would agree with this from our conversation today, that pretty good chance we're going to get some more money.
I would feel confident in saying
Yeah.
we will be able to get some more money. I feel confident in saying we have places that we can utilize it immediately. So, you know, we have a list, and we'll continue to go, you know, one by one down the list and use the money appropriately to make the city, you know, these dilapidated properties go away and make everything look better and help out everybody's neighbors.
I will tell you, it was really interesting when the property on Center Street came down, which is the first one that came down, and it's now it's been seeded and whatever. And then the one on South Davis on the corner of 16th and South Davis, we had lots of sidewalk supervisors. Everybody in the neighborhood was excited and said, oh, we're so glad you're doing this, including the person whose fence kind of got messed up a little bit in the demolition. She said, I don't care. I'm just glad the building's gone. So it has drawn a lot of interest. And several of the people said, where's the next one? And we've communicated with them. Well, this will be the next one. There, you know, there's a lot of excitement and feeling good about what the city's doing in order to improve these neighborhoods where people really try hard to take care of their property.
Absolutely.
And we're helping them by keeping the value of their property up, by getting rid of properties that have been abandoned.
But we do have some groupies now, Jerry, you're right, so.
We do. It's amazing. I couldn't believe all the people that were there on South Davis. It was crazy. You may have seen it, and I hope that the folks that represent that ward know how many people in your neighborhood over there were just like so excited. I mean, you know, fire truck pulls up, big excavator pulls up, all these people are on the sidewalk. So it was a very promising kind of day, I think. And I think it'll continue to be that way when people start seeing the progress that's being made.
I agree.
Anything else for Mike tonight?
If I may.
Yes, sir.
As I've listened to this conversation and to Mr. Kessiker's report, 6 years ago, I would not have dreamed we would be having this conversation. This has been a pet issue for me for the 8 years that I've served on council. And I'm just sitting here thinking, wow, you know, we talk about progress and we throw the word out sometimes casually, but this really is progress in a demonstrably significant way. And I would recommend that we start selling hot dogs and soda pop at all the demos.
Steve, the volunteer fire department should be out there, right?
Yeah,
Get your boot out and start collecting money.
Neighborhood entertainment. But I want to thank everybody who has been so deeply involved in this, in finding the money, in putting together the approach to this, in finding very real and responsible efficiencies, for shepherding a process that, as was noted, checks all the boxes, so we don't have things come back and bite us. I couldn't, as a council rep in the 5th Ward, I couldn't be more pleased with what everybody is doing, and thank you all very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Ms. Judy.
Good evening. I just want to kind of follow up on the work that the code enforcement officer, Jessie, has been doing. On the financial end of it, she has on a regular basis been submitting invoices for reimbursement to the DEP, and we are seeing a good turnaround with that. So that's a good sign. She's on top of the ball, I will say that. As you know, last week we started with our new online bill pay site, Invoice Cloud. We're still working out a few small bugs, but all in all, I think it's going very well, and hopefully within the next 1 to 2 council reports, I'll provide some more information about some of the different payments that we're able to take at this point in time. Expecting proposals for our audit services. They're due next Friday, September the 15th. And other than that, it's business as usual in the treasurer's office. Anybody have any questions? And once again, I will also echo what the operations manager has said regarding personnel and the finance committee working on the compensation changes. It's been a lot of work for everybody involved, and I hope that it gets passed tonight for the employees.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
Chief Himes.
Good evening. So for the month of August, we had 55 calls. Apparently everybody was pretty well behaved driving that month. I just kind of noticed that that was kind of a low number, but we did have 2 building fires and a vehicle fire, about 11 motor vehicle accidents, 1 vehicle versus pedestrian, and various other variety of incidents. Brings our annual year-to-date total up to 452. It's just a little ahead of last year, but just about normal. The application period closed this past Friday for our upcoming entrance exam. We have no openings at the moment, but required to have that eligibility list in place. We received 11 applicants, about what I was expecting. So next Saturday, the 16th, we will have a all-day marathon at the fire station of physical agility testing in the morning, written testing at noon, and interviews to follow to establish that list. I want to thank Sutton for all his help in keeping that process moving. We received the testing materials today and inventoried that, so we are ready to go. Some training that we have coming up for the month of, in this month, I'm hopeful anyway. I spoke to the company that's installing the elevators at the Tiger Hotel, and they've agreed to take our guys through the operation of that equipment for elevator emergencies. We run a pile of them every year. About 9 times out of 10, there's nobody there. My wife gets really mad at me because she didn't like elevators, and she's like, I'm glad I don't ride elevators because I see how fast you move. And I'm like, they'll be there when I get there. It's okay. Power company is going to be coming to the station on the 19th. So not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. They have a mobile trailer with power line distribution and the whole system out from a substation all the way out to the residential user that we can energize and talk about grounding and down wires and things like that. So I'm looking really forward to that. It's only taken us about 10 months to get them booked, so it must be a pretty popular toy. Lastly, report on the new engine. I've sent some pictures. I haven't sent any pictures this week because I was hoping to get some new ones, and I didn't. So when I email you them tonight, that means I'm probably going to get some tomorrow. But 26 and a half months later, these hands have actually touched a steering wheel. We are well underway. There's three or four things that need to be cleaned up and finished up before chassis leaves the chassis plant. The body is on the fixture, the tank is in it, the pump is plumbed, should be starting on the pump housing soon, but all those components should be coming together in the next couple of weeks.
A new windshield, right, Chief?
Yeah. The neighbor was mowing grass and threw a rock through one half of my brand new windshield. So they got to replace it. So we're scheduled hopefully on the 26th to make another mid-build inspection trip up, look things over, and we've dodged one more price increase. So for those of you keeping score, the new savings by signing that contract early is $289,000. So we have the price if we sign today has surpassed $900,000.
How many months was it?
26 months ago. We knew it was going to be delayed with a lot of post-COVID things and supply chain. We knew that the delivery was going to be late, and in a lot of cases, this isn't getting any better. Some of it's getting better. They're having problems with individual components. The AC and heat for the cab is just like an RV. It's a big rooftop unit, and it's mounted, and we've got a shortage on couplings to run the lines. So it's just crazy things like that that's kind of put us where we're at, but it's better than it could be. The production schedule, a large metropolitan city just signed a contract with the same company for four pieces of apparatus, They went on the production schedule last month, and their projected delivery is 2027. So I'm afraid that's the new norm. So, but that's all I have in case anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
By the way, the grill is gorgeous on that truck.
What's that?
The grill, the bumper is gorgeous.
Yeah, I'll make sure I send that. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Stokes.
Thanks, Mayor. Well, speaking of teamwork, it's great to have a fully staffed clerk department. As you all remember, restructuring earlier, in addition to the executive secretary, we've got our new HR generalist, Melissa, in the back, and our new comm specialist, Jeremy, up front. As already touched on, Melissa's been making great contributions already at the nuts and bolts level, seeing opportunities to step in, starting to meet with departments, both inside City Hall and out at the outlying departments, and also starting to give thought to some larger practices and policies where there could be room to do some work. Really welcome presence in the meetings, especially working on the compensation increase, so it's really been great to have her jump right in. Jeremy in the communications seat, he's already revived our weekly City Hall news. You're getting your external affairs bulletin. I think our social media feed is looking lively again. He's bringing some nice design skills there. And he's already hands-on with the back end of the website, figuring out how that works and how it could be improved. And just today, I came to a fuller understanding of his strong background in sound and video, and he had some great thoughts on maybe how we can really take things next level with the live stream and really increase what we get out of our already sizable investment in this equipment. I did want to one thing I was glad to see Jeremy do, he went down and he was already making contact with the Davis Avenue business owners, trying to continue to occupy the somewhat awkward role the city finds itself in as a middleman between a private company that's working with contractors on its own private construction project, and the city, of course, being in charge of the rights of way and the safety issues that are involved when a piece of equipment is on the street. We already are seeing at a small level this week, we did hear from Woodlands that they were going to be bringing a big lift in again on Monday. Jeremy went around and dutifully informed the business owners. Then we heard today from Woodlands that it might not be Monday after all. So I think there's again, it's a good role for the city to be advocating for those business owners and trying to gather information. But it is really tough, as anyone knows who's worked with any contractor. I think predictability is tough. Everyone's glad when they come early. Sometimes they come late. So anyway, I think he's doing a good job trying to strike that balance. With this full team in place, I've been taking stock of kind of getting back going on some more strict clerk duties, just continuing to dial in use of digital tools like Civic Clerk. I think all of us have room to get more out of that, and I want to kind of think about how to make sure everyone is able to access that and really get the most use out of it. Same thing with technology. We polled about laptops. I think we're going to work on Councilor Thompson's getting improvements there. But I just wanted to say, all this stuff is supposed to work. It's supposed to work up to modern standards. If you're ever having trouble with any of it, just let us know, and we'll work with IT and figure out how to get everything working like it should. Does anyone have any questions for me? All right, that's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything to add with regard to the dilapidated properties unless someone has a follow-up question. I think we've covered everything that's currently going on, and there'll be continuing reports from Mr. Kessinger as that progresses. One thing, and I'm so sorry, I do not remember who the member of council was that asked me this, and I said, I think I know the answer, but let me double check. Someone asked, how did the city of Elkins end up having what was formerly a federal building, the post office? And so on the first day of December of 1977, the United States Postal Service deeded this to the city of Elkins for the amount of $100,000. So if you were wondering, I'm so sorry, I don't remember who asked me that, but that's how the city came to own this building and converted it from what was then a federal building that had all kinds of federal offices, including the district judge and obviously the post office downstairs. That's where it came. Once they finished the new building and dedicated it, this came to the city. Anybody have any questions about anything? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, down to 9, approval of vendor invoice payments. I will entertain a motion to accept the invoices as submitted.
I move we pay the AP.
Okay, we have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. And down to new business, Resolution 1683, reappointment of city treasurer. I will entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1684, employee compensation changes.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion?
I just had a quick question. So in terms of, is there any risk to eliminating the step and grade system right now, or I just wanted to understand those two actions happening at the same time.
I will actually defer to the admin officers who have been working on this, diligently, so.
Counselor, that's definitely, we literally talked about today it's a little bit disquieting to take that step when you don't have that next plan to go into place. The issue is that if we tried to keep the current plan, after having done all the work to come up with the compensation amounts that are before you in your packets for the general fund and sanitation fund employees, then it would have been necessary to kind of recalibrate the whole step and grade thing, fit those into those slots. There would have been a whole question of, all right, this employee's been moved from here to here, but they still need to be in the same grade, anyway, a lot of practical issues there that seem kind of daunting. There's a little bit of a sense of, landing on the shore and burning the boats and marching ahead, but it just seemed like the best thing to do was to take the action now that would help fill these critical positions. Recognize that for the next few months, it may be necessary to proceed carefully with anyone new who's hired during that time. If there's any reason to tweak, if they don't fit into exactly these levels that have been set up for everyone else, the admin officers are going to work together to make sure that whatever is arrived at is going to strike others as fair and fits in with the budget. But basically, it's going to be on us to work as efficiently as we can to come up with what that next plan looks like in a very soon approaching next phase of the process.
Cool. So this is sort of like the most logistically simple way to address the need in this current moment.
Yeah, given that it's coming from what it's fair to say is approaching a crisis where if you don't have a street department in the next couple months, there's some things that could really stumble. And the desire to do something about that without casting things out of whack across all the other employees and creating the kind of morale issues that would result from that. It just seemed like this is kind of the most prudent path forward.
I had a question. Just reading in the summary where it says this adjustment sets a new minimum city wage of $14.03 per hour. That's for everybody. Am I reading this? I'm sorry.
Well, it's for the employees that council has authority over, which is the general fund and the sanitation fund.
Okay.
The water fund and wastewater department, those are controlled by their own boards, and so you can't set their pay levels.
Okay. Well, I just to echo what Dave felt about the dilapidated properties. Getting close to that $15 living wage has been something that so many council members now and in the past have wanted to see, and this is extraordinary. I mean, this is another feather in the cap, I think, for the city of Elkins to be able to say, we're getting really close to being able to provide a living wage to all our city employees. fantastic, and I really commend everyone again, and to our new HR person for all the work that, all the negotiating that had to take place. It's phenomenal. It's great. Thank you so much. This is really wonderful news.
Yes, sir.
Question, in looking at this, if I understood correctly, the information, we're looking at about 183,878, say $184,000 increase in the payroll. Is that would apply to EPD and our other employees, correct?
Every single hourly employee in the general fund and sanitation fund, with the exception of the fire department at the specification of the fire chief, is affected by this, yes.
Okay. Where are we taking those revenues from?
Tracy, do you want to?
So, as you may recall, last November, December, I renegotiated our pool cash interest with Mountain Valley Bank. So I don't have it in front of me, but I believe about 33%, that'll pay for 33% of the increase. And then operations had a restructuring of a department or a position, and that will pay about 27%. And then the rest right now, we're going to be able to use some excess funds that we have, knowing that we as employees need to really be attentive to our expenditures within our departments, know the difference between wants and needs. Overtime has a huge impact on department budgets. Any way that we can potentially save on overtime will go far for what the future potentially phases down the road of it being sustainable. And then the other little caveat is PEIA health insurance premiums, which we'll be tackling also as one of the next phases to see.
Tracy, is that 184 including like our PEIA contributions and all?
No, that's the hourly increase in the general fund, calculated the retirement and the FICA increase, and just a projected overtime.
Is this going to impact what we're able to put into the stabilization fund?
Well, council makes the decision by any excess revenues that we have. We're going to have to use some of the excess revenues to use this increase. Will we have to use it all? Probably not, but that's why it's going to be so important for the departments to really watch their expenditures.
And Tracy, when you say excess funds, you're talking about carryover from last fiscal year, yeah, just to be sure.
Yes, sir.
Which traditionally we have, by and large, put into the stabilization fund, which has kept us at a very healthy level, but also to which we have gone for all kinds of things, which in fact is what we wanted it for, at least to some degree. And I'm just concerned, now that you were talking about another, what, 250, Mike? 200 or 250?
That would be correct.
And my concern is that to maintain these pay increases that I do not object to, by the way, I'm fully in support of them. And then we've got another $250,000 drop in that fund. Our ability to replenish that fund is going to be less than it has been in the last number of years. And I'm just thinking we're going to have a very high level of awareness of what we expect from that fund and be extremely disciplined in how we're going to use it. And it's going to have to be for high priority things for the city. That's been my thinking today, as I've kind of worked through this, because I didn't see where we could basically pull largely $200,000 out, from nowhere for these increases. And then we're going to have cost of living allowances as we go forward, which is going to bring this number up. As Tracy said, we're going to have FICA, PEIA, and retirement. And when you put that all together,
I think one of the big concerns that the Finance Committee and the Personnel Committee had in discussing this at the joint meeting was sustainability. And I think, the administrative officers they're confident that it's sustainable at this level, that with the plan that they've come up with. And I think they also understand the onus is on them to sort of make it work going forward. And that's correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding.
Yes. And may I follow up to Councilman Parker regarding the financial stabilization account?
yes.
Right now, we have a little over $937,000 in there. So even if we take that $250,000 out for the project here in City Hall, we still are going to have a healthy amount in there. The other thing, if we have a catastrophic event, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that if we need more funds, that we can get the funding for that. Just as a little, let you know that. Because basically it's the rainy day fund that we put those excess revenues in.
Yeah, and I just wanted to be sure that my thinking was on track with where you all had been, because the sustainability of this is really important. If we're going to offer this to our employees, I want to be sure that we can continue to take care of them as we should be, and that we're not going to get ourselves in a crack on something and start laying people or whatever, any of those unpleasant scenarios.
And that was discussed greatly in the several meetings that we have had. That is not what we want to do, is to get an amount out there and then have to turn around in a year and start laying people off. That's not what we want.
I'm sure. I know you all.
Fortunately for you all, you didn't see our original proposal, because as we drew it up and looked at each other, we were like, yeah, this will not work. And unfortunately, if it were a perfect situation, it would work.
Yeah.
We wish we could do more as the administrative officers as a whole on the package that we put together. But what we did accomplish was a plan to move forward, do it in phases, guarantee sustainability, and guarantee a strong, healthy workforce where people are wanting to come to work for the city of Elkins, not wanting to leave the city of Elkins.
Well, and I am completely in support of those goals. I want you all to know that. But I need to know, for my own peace of mind, frankly, where this is coming from and what the impact will be, say 3 or 4 years down the road, on the stabilization fund, which has been of great value to us. That's all. And I know, Tracy, we'll have a reasonably good balance in there, even after the 250 comes out. But it's just beginning to build it back after the 250 comes out. That is my question. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, Dave, I had similar questions, but the one thing I went back to as well is, as Councilor Henchman reports often, is the growth that we have in our community right now, and the number of businesses that are opening and the revenue that we're generating from that as well. So we are growing as a community, so that gives me some peace of mind as well. But we have to take care of our employees first. That's our foundation.
Yeah, thank you all.
I was going to sort of echo the feeling that we have in the city right now with extra businesses. The B&O taxes, the hotel motel tax is going to be really helpful. If our streets aren't lovely and our streets aren't safe, nobody's going to come here. And I think that we're investing in the future of the city, and it's going bonkers with new people coming in and a lot more energy, a lot more attention being put on this town. I have no doubt in my mind that we'll be able to fill up that fund and keep us growing. Thanks again.
Any other comments? If none, we do have a motion on the floor from my Councilor Henchman. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. And I want to personally thank you because that's probably one of the most important votes that you guys ever took since I've been in office, to be honest with you, is to take care of our employees. So thank you. Resolution 1685, policies and agreements related to the Elkins Police Department hiring incentives. I will entertain a motion, please.
So moved.
Okay, I don't know which one got in first, but we have a motion. Any comments or discussion?
Yes.
Nancy, stop sitting so close to Dave tonight.
Chief Bennett, do I remember correctly that it's your projection that a fair amount of what we're going to be offering, total offering in terms of incentives, to bring the department up to strength, is going to be realized from overtime savings?
That is correct. If we fill these positions through incentives, it will take a very short period of time to recoup that money that we would be paying out in overtime.
And, okay, and the main thing is that if we need not to put these incentives out there and then say we've got this overtime saving that's equal to 3 sets of incentives for 3 new employees, and then we just go spend that money. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to say, well, it's just money back in my budget, and we've got to be really deliberate about cost control in the way that our treasurer spoke about, with every department being very cost control conscious. And I think that's going to apply with this too. Because we've heard about savings in the past from additional employment and reduction in overtime, but I'm not sure whatever was reflected. And this has to be reflected somewhere because we're going to be spending that much more money. Also, Ms. Roberts.
Yes.
If somebody decides they're going to hightail it out of here because they can ride in a cruiser with better twinkle lights on the front grill or whatever may motivate them and turn their crank, is this really collectible if they leave before the expiration?
Well, you can bring a legal action. And I believe if they've signed off on this agreement, it's a contract. And you, depending on the circumstances, you could bring a legal action. You can get a judgment. Now, that's what you would do.
Can we engage a collection agency?
Well, once you get a judgment, you could. I don't believe that's what's going to eventually happen. My prediction is, if indeed someone chooses to leave and they have there are repercussions because of their choice, I think we'll be able to work that out, short of even bringing a legal action. So you have that option, bring whatever legal means are available. Collection agency's way down the road, as far as I'm concerned.
I understand that.
Because what are they going to collect until you have a judgment?
Yes, but I guess I want there to be some spine in this that says, in the event that, then we as a city shall do.
It's all built in there.
Yes.
We have every legal means, I believe, that you could get someone to contract for.
Correct.
And the ability then, if indeed things change in their circumstances, that we can pursue reimbursement of the funds that have been made available to them in the incentive program.
But if I read the language correctly, it really is that we may do that.
Well, there's nothing wrong with may. That just gives you this, why do you want to say shall? Because at that point, you may have a situation where you choose not to do it. If you put shall in there, then that means you as a city have to do it.
Yes.
And why do you want that? Don't you always want the city to have the opportunity to make the best choice in that circumstances to collect the funds. There could be extenuating circumstances,
Terminal illness.
just all kinds of reasons. So May allows the city to make a intelligent choice about what they're going to do to collect the money. If you put shall, then they have no choice. And I see that as
You think
faulty.
that is not to our advantage?
Why do you want to tie your own hands about what you're going to do? Don't you want the flexibility of pursuing? You may do it, but if you see a better route, you can do that. I don't see any reason why to make it mandatory that you're going to take legal action.
No, Dave, if somebody's dealing with a terminal illness, either for themselves or a family member, and would have to leave, do you want to punish them and add that on top of it as well? I mean, that's the way I kind of see this. I mean, having that option and that flexibility, I think, is key.
That's a good point.
I mean, if you say you shall do this to collect it, then you got to do it. You've built that into the contract. You don't want that when you can make the choice about the best way to handle the situation. There are always extenuating circumstances about it. Give yourself the flexibility to make the best choice considering the situation.
And one final question.
I'm going to hold you to that.
Because there's only going to be one final answer.
Yes. One final question. If we have somebody who says, well, I'm going to go on to Department XYZ, is it permissible under employment law for us to let that new employer know about the incentive agreement?
Well, they're going to know because they're going to sign it when they come on board.
Yeah.
No, if they leave and go to work somewhere else.
Oh, you mean if they leave and then they want to come back here?
No, if they leave,
Oh.
and is it permissible for us to share information about this agreement?
You mean if the new agency contacts the city and says, so-and-so's applied for a job, tell me something about them? You mean something like that, and then tell them that? My advice always, with regard to those kinds of situations, is you tell the maybe new agency that they've worked here from this date to that date, end of discussion.
Well, that's what I thought.
And that's what you would do. That would be my recommendation. If someone contacted someone at the city that their new agency that wants to hire this person that was a former employee, I always advise people, this is what you need to tell them. They worked here from this date to that date, end of discussion. You're
This
setting
might be a
yourself-
little bit different. When it comes to law enforcement, that's a little bit different. Because the very moment that you go through the process to be hired by a law enforcement agency, you sign a waiver of information that agency can contact any employer and ask for anything, can access your financial records, can access your criminal history, driving history, everything else. Any backgrounds that another department has done on you, you are giving consent to that to be accessed by
So
the
that
gating
makes them
agency.
very different than the normal employee situation that would work in another department.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Because we do have a motion on the floor. If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, City Hall HVAC project funding. I need a motion to, this is a recommendation actually from the Finance Division, or from Finance Committee, to move $250,000 from the Finance Stabilization Fund for this.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, smoker-friendly request for endorsement of the ABCA floor plan extension application. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. And Beender's request for endorsement of ABCA floor plan extension application. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, down to mayor's comments. It's been a lengthy meeting, so I'll keep these very, very brief. No, I sincerely want to thank the admin officers again for their hard work. I will say we have an amazing synergy within the city right now that's just just very overwhelming at times. And as I said, I was at the Municipal League yesterday for a few minutes. When I'm in Charleston, I usually stop by just to say hello to those folks. And the feedback that I got from the executive director was, you know what, everybody's talking about Elkins because there's a lot of really good things going on. And I told Travis Blosser, I can't take credit for any of that. I just have a really good team, being admin officers and council members right now that have vision. So for that, I want to thank you for your support of the admin officers and myself and all the crazy ideas that get thrown your way, and for supporting the workers that actually provide the services out there. So it's a really cool time. I also want to officially welcome Melissa and Jeremy to the team. They've been tremendous. Our team was strong prior to that, but they've both come in with an amazing energy about them, and I've not seen them without a smile yet, so that's very refreshing too. So I don't know if they're smiling because they're kind of afraid. I don't know. So I will say Jeremy concerned me last week with an email that he sent out because the opening paragraph was something about, what was it about this working with the city, and I thought I'm like, he's going to say he's leaving. Oh my God, she's been here a week, but it wasn't, thank goodness. So no, but like I said, thankful to have both of them here, and to echo Sutton's comments, the communication's been tremendous, and Melissa has jumped in and has brought tremendous ideas. So with that, there's football on tonight, so I'm going to get out of here and say meeting adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry, Tracy has one more thing. So
I just wanted to thank council for my reappointment. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.